we move on to the next presentation, can we please have on stage Mr. Nathan Thomas, who's the Regional Director, Middle East and Africa, Infrastructure.
Hello, World Education Summit. It's lovely to meet you all. It's fantastic to spend today with you guys. I'm really looking forward to it. So, my name is Nathan Thomas. I'm the Regional Director for Middle East and Africa at Instructure. Many of you would know it as Canvas. So, yeah, a little bit about Canvas. We actually founded in 2008. We're the fastest growing LMS in the world. We have clients like Harvard, every Ivy League school in the States, Oxford, Cambridge. We're proud to call our clients, right? We have about 70 million users concurrently using Canvas at any given time. We actually have some instances that have 2 million and 7 million users at any given time, right? So, yeah, and we're ranked the #1 most visited education website in the world. So on to today's topic, digital transformation. And what's really important is actually just to focus on transformation. And it's not so much which platform we're using, in which context, that does play a role. But I actually really wanted to hone in on expectations and how expectations have actually changed in the last 3 years, right? Because there was a status quo, there was a way of doing things, and now, because of COVID and all of these kind of things, the expectation has changed from students, how they expect to learn, how they can consume information, as well as teachers, how they can be enabled, administrators, the insights that they can get from the different platforms that they're using, and then obviously the executive committee getting those deep insights, right? So let's jump into some stats, and then we can obviously take it from there. So one of the biggest things is that context drives device choice. We can see many people here on their phones, on their laptops, and in a host of different ways, right? And what really drives that is where we are, how much time we have, and essentially that outcome that we need to achieve, right? As well as the attitude. So sometimes we just want to consume things in a little bit more of a just passive way. I have some free time. Let me consume this, or hey, I actually need to accomplish this, and I have a certain deadline to be able to do that. So, just looking at some stats, computers versus mobile. 24% of our daily media interactions occur on a PC, right? Which is actually lower than smartphones. So that's around 38% of our interactions. But it's different. On the PC, we're there to get things done, right? We want to really be in front of the PC and really just accomplish whatever task needs to happen, or do that research that also needs to take place. Smartphones, slightly different, right? It's a host, it can be a host of different things that we need to achieve, but it's really around communication, which is 54%, and then entertainment at 33%. I really like this quote, right? So, and I think that also just speaks a lot about student expectation. And I think the more that we can lean into that as different institutions, and like I say, I have the privilege of being able to travel a lot around the Middle East and Africa. And this is something that, the most successful institutions are really, really focusing on, right? Is how do students perceive and what are their expectations for the future, right? And this is great just to hear around how it's more democratic and more equitable than traditional classroom styles. A mobile population, so also just some quick stats. Mobile app versus mobile web. And really what this is just indicating in a very resounding way is that it's apps, right? You need to have apps that create this ecosystem of interaction between teachers, between students, and then obviously being able to analyze that and essentially where students and teachers want to be spending their time is in that ecosystem that's housed in an app rather than on basically mobile web, right? So, like I said, the main transformation that's happened is not so much on the tech side, even though tech has followed this, but it's that shift in student expectations. Unpopular opinion, but students don't open your emails, and the speaker actually said this a little bit before, right? And I just love some of these stats. They're actually a little bit jarring that 39% of students don't always open emails from academic advisors, 50% don't always read, and then 72% treat emails from student organizations like spam. That's interesting. That's really interesting because student organizations is that social community, right? And where are they having that? They're having that on the likes of social media, et cetera, et cetera. So what happens if we as institutions and higher ed learning institutions are actually able to create that or create that ecosystem? Emails are basically becoming the new SMSs, and that leads me on to the next point, SMSs. Do we even need to talk about that? There's definitely better ways to be doing that, right? It's really about push notifications via the mobile app, and that's really easy to consume, really easy to digest. So, student-centered learning, and once again, just a really great quote, right? The conversation that we're having now is something that's needed to take place in a long time, or for a long time, and just due to remote changes in COVID and these kind of things, it's actually expedited that quite significantly, right? So if there's any slide you remember, please let it be this one. And 95% is definitely no small percentage, but 95% of adults expect higher ed learning to be hybrid by 2025. That's a resounding majority, right? So what does hybrid look like? And we can see over here, because hybrids also need to be redefined over the last couple of years. You know, what is that? Is that remote? Is that online? But you know, that blended learning between traditional face-to-face, people still need those interactions, whether it's over Zoom or basically synchronous learning, or ideally in a classroom, or is it online and remote, right? So that shift to blended learning is really, really important. And this is where the cloud comes in. And the cloud, as we all know, it is an extremely powerful tool to be able to scale, and that's one of the reasons why we are able to, support different universities that have 400,000 students, 200,000 students, 2 million students. It's because it's based on the cloud. It's scalable, it's easy to use, and it can be used anywhere, right? So that's where Canvas fits in, a learning management system, for lack of a better word. But yeah, it's really just that place where universities and institutions are able to create this ecosystem. But it's an ecosystem that is accessible not to, but essentially to everyone at all times, at all places, right? On your phone, while you're busy traveling, obviously in the classroom, and that it's, that it's easy to use for teachers and students. So what that means is that shift from on-prem, which is very much bound in many, many ways, cloud-hosted or true SaaS, right? You don't need to worry about updates. That can be tricky at times. There can be information that's lost. There's a single version. You avoid software maintenance. You avoid hardware maintenance. And you can actually focus a lot more time, instead of making sure that your LMS is up and running, you can actually focus a lot more time on adoption. You can focus a lot more time on basically iterations around how can we get unification for teaching for students, right? So a lot of different points here, why cloud is better. I think probably the two things that I just wanted to focus on is on the time management side. So like I said, for administrators, they can focus a lot more on looking at adoption, on giving teachers and the executive committee that feedback in terms of what's working, what's not working, but also for teachers, right? Making sure that they're able to save a lot of time, and then also students. And then, scalability and accessibility, right? Accessibility is one of the key topics in our region, especially here, and it's being able to make sure that we have the same quality of education that Harvard, Stanford, etc. are having, but also in the favelas in Latin America, right? I live in South Africa, in Cape Town, and in the townships over there, and making sure that there's that equitable access to good quality education, and that's essentially what Canvas is standing for. So, thank you so much for your time. I don't know why that slide snuck in there, but yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it, and hope to connect with you all a little bit later. Cheers.